Start getting here a lot earlier.
Oh.
Take Doug's seat.
No,
Back there tonight.
Lord. Okay. We are here and we have a quorum. So we've got the Coos County Area Transit District meeting. A board of directors will hold a joint meeting at 9 o'clock. And we have to do public hearing. Item number 1, 24-25 budget. Background, the CCAT Budget Committee approved the FY 24-25 budget on March 27, 23. Further, the legal notice of budget is hearing has been posted in the World, April 30th. Call for public testimony on the FY 24-25 budget. Do we have any comment?
Just to clarify, that was approved on March 27, 2024. I apologize for the typo.
Oh, yeah, we're all over it. Okay. Okay, that's one. Do we have any more public comment for our budget that was approved? You have to do it 3 times in order to make it legit. 2, any public comment for our 2024-25 budget? Thank you. We will move on. Item number 2, FY 23-24. That should be 24-25. 24-25. But is that supposed to be 23-24? I know it says that.
Supplemental is 23-24.
Okay, just want to make sure. Background for supplemental budget proposed any changes in funds expenditure by more than 10%. Legal notice of the supplemental budget hearing was posted in the World on April 30th, 2024. Form ORLBSBH. I call for public comment for FY 23-24 supplemental budget. Call number 1. Call number 2 for public testimony. FY 23-24 supplemental budget. Number 2. And the third and final call for public testimony on the FY 23-24 supplemental budget. 3. Thank you for your comments. With that, I move on to call our meeting to order. Hark, a knock at the door. Okay, that's a different story. Roll call. Go ahead, Melissa, can you do a roll call for the quorum of board of directors?
Director VC.
Here.
Director Dovenspike.
Here.
Director Johnson. Director Clausen.
Here.
Director Mason Long. Here. Director Baker.
Here.
Director Nelson.
Here.
For the advisory committee, committee member Morris.
Here.
Committee member Marchant.
Here.
Committee member Zeller. Committee member Ward. Committee member Thompson.
Here.
Committee member McIntyre.
Okay.
We have a quorum of the board of directors. We do not have a quorum of the advisory committee.
Okay. Unfortunately, we're going to continue because that's our job. Board of directors, advisory committee, people that aren't here. You could come online if it's a challenge, but we appreciate your service anyway. Do we have any changes to the agenda? Nope. Citizens' comments and agenda items. Do we have any citizens who'd like to make a comment on our agenda items? Limited 3 minutes per person. See no hands. See no feet. Okay. We have a consent agenda, minutes, financials, and ridership. Could I get a motion from the floor to accept the consent agenda?
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Thank you. And do we have a second? Thank you. Do we have any questions on the consent agenda? Anyone got a line that they want to talk about, ask about, etc. about? Okay, all those in favor of the consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Consent on. Seven, old business. None. New business, adopt and appropriate the budget FY 2024-25 document resolution 2024-7. Can I get a motion from the board to approve the resolution to adopt 2024-7 and appropriate the 2024-2025 budget?
Move to accept the adopt and appropriate the budget for 24-25.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
A second.
Thank you. We got a motion and a second. We've had our hearings on this fine information. Does anyone have any comment, questions, or anything you want to bring up? Okay, all those in favor to approve the resolution 2024-7 to adopt and appropriate the FY 24-25 budget, say aye.
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 Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Budget is passed. Now we've got an adopt and appropriate the supplemental budget FY 23-24 document resolution 2024-8. Could I get a motion from the floor?
I move to adopt and appropriate the supplemental budget for 23-24.
And do we have a second?
Second.
A second.
Aye, call it time. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Thank you for budgetizing. Our next up is Title VI plan by David Rumcalvis. This fine young gentleman on my left. Go ahead, David.
Well, about 2 months ago, Melissa and I listened to a meeting, went to a meeting about Title VI. And there was a lot of information there, but the one that really stuck out was it's a requirement of federal law and state law to update our Title VI program every 3 years. Went back and looked at ours, and it had been more than 4.
Shock.
Title VI, to make it very simple, is a requirement that public transit companies, much like ours, go out of our way and do whatever we can to make sure that we do not discriminate against anyone based on race, sexual origin, disabilities, age, basically anything. And we also include in there our limited English plan so that we cannot discriminate for people that don't speak English as well as most of us. With the language plan, we're somewhat fortunate compared to a lot of companies in that the vast majority of the people in our community speak English, only English, and so we're not required to do things in multiple languages. For example, if you have more than 7% of your people that speak Spanish, you would be required every time you put something out to have it in English and in Spanish. We don't cross that threshold with any other language. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be willing to assist and willing to try. And, you know, one thing I'm thinking of doing, I'm sure Melissa will agree, is trying to find someone, because our number one language other than English is Spanish. It's like 5.5%, so we're just below the threshold. So I'm thinking about trying to find someone in our community that can help translate. And I ran into this when I worked at the school district. We would translate something using Google Translate. And then we would let a Spanish speaker actually read it. It doesn't work great. No. So you need to have someone that can take that document that you translated and actually read it and tell you how to make it something that people can understand. So I'm gonna reach out and try to find some partners that we could do that too. It's really not that big of a deal. You use Google Translate, you email it to them, they can usually go over it in an hour and then you're done. But Title VI basically something we're required to do every 3 years. We went through the policy word for word. We compared it to documents from other companies. We used some things that people had sent us as an idea of where to start. We sent it to ODOT. They reviewed it. We made a few changes. We got their approval. Our attorney looked at it. We got her approval. So we are recommending that you adopt the Title VI plan. And we will update it on our website. We will update it publicly and let people know it's there. And this gives people also an opportunity to file a complaint if they think there has been some discrimination. And there are rules very specifically laid out about how we review those. And we have to review them. We have to immediately notify ODOT. And so that would be the process. We are recommending that you adopt the Title VI plan as it is. And I'll update it on the website today and we will get rolling on with it actually being legal.
Okay, so
Has a translator, I think a notes came up about that.
that was Jane thought it was a good idea. Right, legal? Good idea, Jane? Go ahead.
Jennifer Boardman also put a message in chat about.
It was, I was
Organized.
responding, yeah, I was responding to Jennifer. She said she has a contract for translation service already, so that means we don't have to put one together out of nothing. And I was like, yay.
Excellent. Good work, Jennifer. Now, I notice here on this piece of paper, we have an advisory committee motion, but we don't have a quorum.
We
on
do
our
now.
advisory.
I think
We do now?
Yes, Lindsay Ward came on, so
Yes.
welcome, Lindsay. That makes 4 on the advisory committee,
So I
so.
would pass it on to Mike,
Lo-
who's the chair.
Lauren's the chair.
Lauren's the chair now. Sorry,
Yeah,
Lauren.
Lindsay, for your information, we're talking about the Title VI plan. It's the same one that the tribe has to, it's the non-discrimination policy, that the tribe also has. So, the advisory committee needs to make a motion to recommend that the board of directors approve and adopt resolution 2024-9 approving the Title VI program plan. Is that with the translation that we're going to be doing, or?
Translation is just separate.
Okay, so it's
The
just
Title
this
VI
one.
plan is just the legal document that we
Okay.
have to.
So I am seeking a motion that the CCAT advisory committee moves to recommend that the board of directors adopt resolution 2024-9 approving Title VI program plan.
I move that the CCAT Advisory Committee recommends to the Board of Directors to adopt Resolution 2024-9 approving the Title VI program plan.
Thank you. Second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, we need a board motion to adopt the resolution 2024-9 approving the Title VI program plan, which includes the limited English proficiency plan.
I make a motion, we move to adopt the resolution 2024-9 approving the Title VI program plan, which includes a limited English proficiency plan.
Thank you. And do we have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
This is Fred. I was reading through some of that, and I was wondering, it seemed like it said something about 25% of your population as opposed to 7. Is that something? Did anyone else read that? And then it talked about as far as updating your printed material. It seemed like it had a statement in there about whether or not your budget allows for. Did I read something that I think it was somewhere around page 24 of that document? But it seemed like it stated that if 25% of your population reached, a non-English speaking population, then you had to update your documentation. I didn't read the 7% in there that was.
Jane, Melissa? Okay.
Brett, the 25% may be correct. I may be wrong. I went through a lot of numbers going through this thing. But our plan is not to require it for everything we print. Our plan is if we get a call from someone who wants something in a specific language, to have a way set up that we can accommodate.
Sure.
So basically what we're suggesting is that we go above and beyond the minimum requirements of the Americans with Disability Act, and we actually provide a better service.
Yeah. I think that it was that particular section did talk about if someone came and had a reason to complain or something, then we would address it. And then it went on to say that if your population was 25%, that you would need to actually go and if you could afford it to print this stuff. But okay.
Based on our rules, we are not required to have a second language in anything that we print, but we're just saying that we're willing to try that to accommodate anyone's needs.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Jennifer, I saw you had a comment and it flashed before my eyes and then disappeared.
Yeah, it's actually, the wording is safe harbor threshold, and it's for LEP, so limited English proficiency language group. So it has to constitute 5% or 1,000 of your population, whichever is less, in order for you to kick into that requirement. So if you have a population that is at 4.9%, then you are not required to provide those translation services. But if you want to, you are able to do so. And it's highly recommended, especially when you get to that certain, you're right about the threshold. It's worthwhile to kick into those translations. So that's the actual wording is 5% or 1,000, whichever is less.
And Fred, I did find the typo on top of page 22. And so we'll make sure that it does say 25% of the total population served. So we'll make sure that the 2 gets deleted, leaving the 5.
Thank you.
Thank you for the catch.
Sure.
Thank you, everyone. Any other questions or comments before we vote? Go ahead.
Just a comment. I certainly encourage us to follow this line that our Spanish-speaking population is growing. In my 25 years here, it's dramatically increased, and seems nothing is going to change on that. It's going to continue to rise, and boy, do we need the workers.
True. Any more questions or comments before we vote on this? We have a motion on the floor to move to adopt resolution 2024-9 approving the Title 6 program plan, which includes a limited English program efficiency plan. All in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Abstain? Thank you. Thank you, David. Part D, dispatch system and phone app. Melissa, or is that David?
No, that
Melissa.
will be me. Thank you. So we've been talking about customer applications and real live data for our customers, so that they can make just good decisions in real time about their participation, daily participation, hopefully, in public transit. And so just as a little background piece, back in February of 2020, ODOT funded a technology assessment for Coos County Area Transportation District. And through that, there were a number of priorities that were identified. And of course, that was having a system, a scheduling system that was software driven, that we can book rides, as well as a tablet then for the drivers to receive information on, their stops and their appointments that they're picking up and dropping off, along with the capacity of doing online booking of rides, rider-facing real-time information, online vehicle maintenance tracking, and accessibility of an online schedule. We took all of those pieces of criteria and we incorporated that into a request for information back in 2020. And based on what the responses we received back in 2020, we selected the software solution of Ecolane. And we are at the point now where basically Ecolane, I will say, overpromised and underdelivered. And in May of 2025, that subscription will be done. And so now is the time for us to select a vendor because implementation takes a good number of months. And so this is the time where we need, as a board, to make the decision of what vendor we need to move to. And you'll recall, we've been working on evaluating vendors for quite some time. We thought we were going to do the pilot program with the routing company. And we were accepted into that program. We signed an agreement in that program. But then when we started in our initial implementation of that program, the routing company's strategic priorities shifted, and as such, they withdrew from that agreement, which is fine, because we need to have a vendor that has a similar vision as we do on how to best serve our customers. We've received demos and interviewed via Swiftly, the routing company, Passio, along with Ecolane, and there were a couple other vendors in addition that we have met with. Staff's recommendation is that we move forward with Passio Technologies. Attached in your packet is a summary of the services and costs. There really isn't that much difference with respect to costs. Now, how you come up to the line item, Ecolane is very heavy on required equipment lease and maintenance, and as opposed to Passio, which is higher in the reoccurring base price. But when you look at it overall with all the other features, and I must say, as you look at the hardware, even though Ecolane says the hardware is only 9,000. It would likely be more. I don't believe they necessarily presented a complete proposal with respect to the hardware. It particularly with the cellular service limitations that we have infrastructure wise in our area. Passio, I think, was the most responsive to our needs, and they presented the most responsive proposal, and the reoccurring costs were also less. Staff again is recommending that the board approve the district moving forward with Passio.
Okay,
Are there questions?
go ahead, Mike.
Is there an escape clause if there's non-fulfillment again?
Question.
I'm not terminating early on the Ecolane. The price model for Ecolane is that Hope paid everything in advance. And so, you know, those funds have been expended back in 2020. And that also provides us, you know, a comfortable buffer for us to do implementation in a intentional and no pressure type of way, right? So it gives us flexibility and will allow us to transition then hopefully seamlessly for our customers.
How long is this contract with Passio?
It's a 3-year. After the 3 years are complete, you go to month, or you can renew for another 3-year.
And is there an escape clause there in any way if we don't care for it within the 3 years?
Yes.
Jane?
Yes, there is. I was just double checking because I thought that's what Mike had asked. It's pretty straightforward. I don't think that it'll be a problem if we do need to. I believe they just want notice. Let me go back and look at it if you want more detail than that.
Well, all I know is the Ecolane adventure that we've had over the last while.
Right. Let's
It's
not
been
do
an
any more
adventure,
adventures.
and that's all I'm gonna say.
Let's not do any more adventures with contracts for a little bit.
Yeah, we don't
I
need
am
any more
100% with
adventures.
you on that. Yeah, so this says, upon expiration or termination of this agreement for any reason, orders will terminate, will immediately cease any services, and within 30 days after termination or expiration of this agreement, return to Passio all Passio or destroy all Passio's confidential information. Any section that must survive in order to give force shall remain. If we know ahead of time, termination is 30 days ahead if possible. What else we got in here? And then there's other remedies if somebody breaches.
But
Good.
there's no prepayment like we have
No,
now with Ecolane
no.
that.
no,
Okay.
it's very fair looking.
Good.
Excellent. Any other questions before we
I have a
get a
question.
motion from
That's
the
right.
floor? Fred?
Yeah, thanks. So Melissa, is it a totally cloud-based service, and do you
Yes.
you input all data?
Well, okay. So there's two pieces. There's a cloud base, and then for paratransit ADA, it's kind of a hybrid. Part of it is desktop and part of it is in the cloud.
When you say part of it is desktop, does that mean your computers in your offices would hold that software? And
Yeah, so on the paratransit side, there is a portion of the client database that is actually will reside on the network.
I see.
Good question, Fred.
Yeah, does that require any, you have a server, I suppose?
Yeah, we do.
And how old is your server now? You know?
Not off the top, I do not know.
Okay, yeah.
But we haven't, our server has been really reliable, and we can do when a review of IT with our IT consultant. But it's not a heavy burden type.
Okay, so it's the app is not gonna require a lot of resources, maybe.
No.
Space, that sort of thing. Okay.
No.
Yeah, that was kind of my business back in the day, so. All right.
Lauren's got a question, and I think Mike has a question as well. Mike Marchand. Go to Mike.
For Melissa and or Jennifer, do we know of any other transit agencies similar to our size that have used Passio and what their experience has been?
So we did reference checks, and I have spoken with a couple districts, one in Oregon regarding Passio, as well as outside of Oregon. When you go online and you look at websites that have real-time data information, a good number of those are Passio.
Good.
Thank you.
Mike Marchand, did you have a question? You were just stretching.
Lauren actually asked my question, so thank you.
Thinking alike, gotta get that away. Okay, could I get a motion to authorize staff to move forward in executing contract with Passio Technologies?
I would move that we move it.
Thanks, Fred. And do we have a second?
I'll second.
And we have a second. We got a motion and a second to authorize staff to move forward in executing contract with Passio Technologies. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstain? Much success with Passio. Now we're on our general manager report. Melissa.
Yes, thank you. I think that I have really just one discussion item to bring to your attention today. I received notice 10-ish days ago from ODOT that although we submitted our 5339 to them on time, they, due to being understaffed and staffing capacity, they missed the deadline to submit our app to the feds. So they did make a couple of recommendations. One is to submit our application for the carbon reduction program. That grant application is due here at the end of the month. The good news is that the match for that grant is only 10%. Yay. Bad news is the pool is not as big as the federal funding stream. So that's not good. That means that we'll be submitting many more applications in order to fully fund our project for the Coos County Transit Center and Mobility Hub. A second recommendation that ODOT made was for us to submit under the STIF discretionary grant. That grant will be published here in June. There's a letter of interest that's due in July, and that application will be due in August. Again, the pool won't be quite as big as a federal pool, but it is another avenue for us to do some, we need to get funds for this project.
How much were we thinking we were gonna get from through the Fed roughly?
Through the Fed?
Yeah,
it was a 6 million total project submitted was several million.
Oh,
The total project is like 7.8, and then it was like 6 of that was gonna come out of the federal pot.
Did anybody else run into, like, did any other groups run
Yeah,
into
there were
this
4
issue?
other districts in our situation.
And did any, like, what? This seems like you're offering it very calmly, but this seems like kind of a big deal. I mean, has ODOT offered any kind of whoopsie, hey, what can we do for you, or anything like that?
Well, yeah, they said,
They told
Jennifer's
you you
gonna
could
help
put
me
together
write.
more applications. Yeah, okay. Wow. Okay.
Hey, Jennifer,
It was
any
me.
wisdom for us?
It wasn't me, okay?
Well, I know it couldn't be you, because you're good.
I mean, we all
yeah,
know what it's like to be understaffed too, but it kind of, I'm just wondering if
It-
anybody's following up to make sure it doesn't happen again or anything
Yes.
like that.
Yes, they are. So a couple things. The one thing with the federal, you're competing against every single transit agency federally. So our chances, we typically get maybe 1 or 2 grants in any given year, depending on the funding. The bummer is that this is one of the biggest pots that they've had. Last year and the year before were the biggest pots. So each year it's kind of diminishing, and we have no clue as what's going to happen with the elections. So that's a bummer. The good thing is that I am pushing and pushing and pushing, and I know my other RTC friends that had agencies that were also out of luck on this. We are pushing that the agencies that put in applications for the 5339 but didn't get them get priority for the STIF funding. So that's one of the things that I'm trying for. I don't know where we'll land on that. We do have another opportunity again next year, but that's one more year out. And I am trying to find as much as I can and try to help Melissa as much as I possibly can with any kind of applications. And I know our director made mention of this at the PTAC meeting and apologized profusely. So it is one of those things that it's a big bummer for everybody.
Well, we appreciate your help and concern, Jennifer. You're awesome.
Jennifer, when you say priority for STI, that's always a given anyhow. So are you saying are you talking about the discretionary? Okay.
Yeah, because that is
Is-
a statewide competitive grant. And if there's any way that we can give extra points to the agencies that did not receive the fund or did not get put into the chance to receive the funding from the feds, we should, from my perspective, do that.
And there's no appeal that can be made to the federal government for.
Unfortunately, no. Missed deadline, you're out of luck. Yeah.
And they did ask. I mean, I was told they did ask.
Well, mistakes happen, right?
Okay, Melissa, do you have some other happy yippee news?
I think the services are going well. And I don't have any other things to report at this time. I have met with both the airport. We had a meeting, the airport district, myself, and the port district. And we talked a little bit about hydrogen. I have had a meeting with C2C about some free hydrogen technical assistance with our planning. So that's going forward. I'm looking forward to the data that we will get from this free technical assistance. I think it'll support our discretionary grant application for STIF. So that'll be good. And I don't have any other things to report at this time.
Okay. Do we have any citizens' comments on non-agenda items? Possibly? Board persons, do you have any questions or comments you'd like to bring up at this time? So our next meeting is in June 10th at 9 a.m. And we'll be doing the election of officers, president, vice president, secretary, etc. And according to research and development of Melissa, a person can be chair for 4 years. And the current chair has been chair for 3 years. But that doesn't have anything to do with anything, just trying to be aware. I wish you the best. Go Vancouver Canucks. Keep it going, baby. Adjourn.
Thank you, everybody.
Well done.
Have a good week.